Okay, well, hello everybody. This is Jeff, TrueKnowledge in the house, MCU'S Bleeding Edge, another live stream edition, another review show. This time to do Hawkeye episode 1 and 2. Diving right into it, we have once again Andrew from Geek News Now Network. It's good to see you, brother.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, and we've got Renee also, aka Loki's mom, back from sakar.freeforums.net, podcast of champions.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody.
And just to launch right in here, I know it's going to be a little bit out of order, but I'm going to go ahead and play a promo for Hawkeye episode 3, just assuming that, it won't be spoiling anything. It's just a promo, so.
I have made many mistakes, but I accept the debt I'm paying because of them.
Prison has changed me.
What is it you're saying?
I want to make a deal.
Can I tell you a secret? I'm working with an Avenger. We're saving the holidays.
Can I speak to your manager?
Didn't realize you were supposed to bring guns.
We're out of regular arrows.
Oh my god, trick arrows?
Definitely not this one.
You don't have to say definitely like that. Holy! There are arrows more dangerous than that one?
Okay. Well, that was pretty neat. Not much there to work with, really, other than the fact that Kingpin's obviously going to be back from Daredevil, which is really neat. I don't know if Andrew, I don't know if you saw Daredevil already on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw. Was it? No, I only seen the first 2 seasons. Actually, I think there's a third one, right? I only saw the first 2.
Yeah. I'm on season 2 right now. So that's where I'm at with it. But so obviously you know who the Kingpin is and whatnot.
Yeah.
Renee, did you catch any of Daredevil, Renee?
Yeah, I have seen it. I think I've seen all 3 seasons, and Vincent how do you say his name? D'Onofrio, or he's
D'Onofrio.
Yeah, he's just phenomenal in the part. He really he owns it because he's sort of a cross between John Huston's Noah Cross in Chinatown and Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. He just really kind of locks into it, and he doesn't make it campy at the same time. So he was outstanding.
Yeah, he was outstanding in Daredevil. The Daredevil season 1, for those of you out there who haven't caught Daredevil, is outstanding. At least I think it is. The first season is just literally great. It's classic. And Vincent D'Onofrio really throws it down too, as Kingpin. But so we are, of course, also with Geek News Now Network. I want to make sure I go ahead and plug away for Geek News Now for GNN. No shame here, but we are with Geek News Now Network, and I just want to shout out to everybody at GNN. And of course, thank Andrew for coming over from GNN, to help us out here on the Bleeding Edge. But so as far as that promo trailer goes, it's pretty cool that we know for sure now that Kingpin's going to be in episode 3. That's pretty neat. And obviously that woman that they showed there at the end of the trailer is Echo. We saw her in episode 2 at the end. I guess she's like the head of that Russian gang or whatever, or the Russian mafia.
Tracksuit.
Yes, the tracksuit gang. Yes. I guess she's the leader. And she's got they when they showed her in episode 2, there was kind of like an ominous tone about her, Were either one of you surprised at how, just to kind of lump episode 1 and 2 together for a minute, were you surprised at the tone kind of, Andrew, of the seriousness kind of the episodes, or the kind of the dramatic?
No, I wasn't that surprised because in the trailer that we got about a month ago, it seemed kind of lighthearted and kind of Home Alone-esque, very Christmassy Die Hard / Home Alone. Like it had like that festive kind of like explosions, but with like some Christmas cheer kind of thrown in. So the tone, I love the tone. It's very different from what we've seen of the MCU shows so far.
What did you think, Renee? Was it a little bit like more serious than you expected it to be?
Yeah, because like it starts off with the real serious, the young heroine here as a child witnessing the Battle of New York, and then that's so that brings that back, that seriousness of the Avengers movie. But then it also, I think it balances the seriousness and the lightheartedness, and I think that's kind of a Marvel trademark that they do pretty well. So yeah, I guess I wasn't expecting it to be too lighthearted. I mean, you talking about the trailer being that way, but I didn't really expect that. It pretty much turned out how I expected as far as the tone, the seriousness balanced with comedy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I felt like if anything, the tone was less comical than I thought it was going to be honest with you, based off the trailers. But you make a good point, Renee. When they show off in episode 1, when we get like the origin story of Kate Bishop or whatever, basically, her father dies in the Battle of New York. And I thought that was pretty poignant for him to have died that way. You know what I mean? I mean, you want to talk about starting things off pretty serious, to link the Battle of New York to his death like that was pretty intense. And I can see it would, you can see how there would be a personal connection there with Kate Bishop and like maybe the Battle of New York or the Avengers or Hawkeye or something like that. I thought it was really cool how she walks out of the apartment or whatever and sees Hawkeye like fighting and everything and whatnot, and like jumping off the roof and everything, and then of course we see her proceeding to win like, trophies and medals and everything left and right for like martial arts, for fencing, for archery. So she's like basically like she's very multi-skilled. She's not just an archer. I mean, she can do a lot of different stuff. So basically, I guess what I would ask you guys would be, looking at episode 1 as a whole, not even breaking it down from scene to scene, because I don't really feel like it's necessary. Looking at episode 1 as a whole, what did you really, I'll start with you, Renee. What did you really take out of that first episode? I mean, it was pretty straight shot. Was there anything specific for you that really stood out in episode 1?
What I liked about where it kind of jumps into the we go from the seriousness and then we jump into where the family's there watching the Avengers Broadway show, which and he's just barely tolerating it, and I think it is speaking to something I think they're going to probably present more in the next phase of how they've become pop heroes in almost reflective of a way of how the fictional characters have become pop heroes, but in the conceit of the movies, it's going to be the real people becoming those pop heroes. So, or at least being plagued with that. They have to deal with all their celebrityhood and all that. So I think that may be what's coming. So I don't know, but that did stand out to me. And then there's some, I think if it's not in the first episode, it may be in the second. I think Hawkeye sort of waxes philosophical a little bit about who he is and what he is and all that. And, I think that's kind of standard again to the Marvel thing. But yeah, but I would say that kind of stood out. The Broadway show part just kind of like slaps you in the face.
Well, they really, they really kind of throw you right into the mix, with the first episode. Like once you get the origin story with Kate Bishop, you kind of just they go right into the story, and before you know it, you're right in the middle of it. Now I want to say that the time lengths on those episodes were like 50 minutes or 51 minutes long with the credits and everything and whatnot. They were pretty long. But Andrew, same question to you. As far as the first episode goes, I know it's a lot to ask you, but if you could pull anything out of that first episode, any part of maybe the episode that stood out to you.
Just to build off of what Renee was saying about how like it's fun, like the whole pop culture aspect of how Avengers, especially the Marvel licenses in real life, how it is now, where like the toys, like you have toys for like Thanos, who's like not as big of a character like 10 years ago and stuff, and like in real life and stuff. But in the show, like when he's watching the play and he's like, I'll tell you who wasn't there was Ant-Man, and how he's kind of like you can tell like he has a little bit of resentment, but at the same time, like he's okay with it, with like where he's not like he knows he doesn't have the massive cult of personality like how the other characters do. And he's like, he says something about how his toys don't fly off the shelf or something like that. I don't remember if it's in the first or second episode. I think it's the first one where he says that. But the whole kind of him being sort of like uncomfortable with like his celebrityness, like when they're in the restaurant and the owner of the restaurant's like, oh, here, this is like on the house. He's like, oh, that's not necessary. And he's like, no, please, like you save the city. And it's like, all right, like there's kind of some kind of he's coming to terms with how he's like the not the most like high profile Avenger, but then again, he's still like, oh right, like I did, like people still like recognize me and stuff like that. And you can kind of still see how he's just I don't know, like I got the feeling like he was trying to still like he's the last of like the OG, right? Like last of the who are still there, and he's kind of just in this weird transitional period because I don't think he's like working for Shield and he's not doing the Avengers stuff. And I don't know, that was interesting. But back to your original question, Jeff, you said what stood out to me was I like Kate's character, especially in the first episode where she does the confidence thing where the guy's like, oh, I thought I was the only one working like down here today. And he's like, oh, she's like, Gary sent me. He's like, okay. And then when she gets confronted by the actual Gary, he's like, I'm Gary. And then she's like, instead of like lying or instead of like backing out, she doubles down. And she's like, you don't like, how can you not remember? And then she's like offended and she just like walks off. And I love that. I love that part. So that's, one of my favorite parts of the show so far.
Well, Cam, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. I had a really long day at the clinic today, and then I had to basically go straight from that into like a 2-hour drive into Sebring. I'm actually at my mother-in-law's house right now, and I just finally like just now got finished watching the first episode. So I don't know if you guys are discussing the second episode too, but I haven't gotten there yet.
We're talking about episode 1.
Okay.
And what I was asking everybody else was, what, like, since you just watched it, what kind of, out of the whole episode, what kind of stood out for you?
Well, the first scene definitely was a really good way to get me hooked on it. It was really interesting to see the Battle of New York through the eyes of someone who wasn't involved, who had no idea what was going on. It really felt like somebody on the outside witnessing some kind of like really traumatic, war. And it was interesting to see from that perspective. So that, really stood out to me. It was interesting for a series called Hawkeye. I think that, Clint Barton got maybe 6 minutes of screen time in total, which I was kind of hoping for more of that, but I know that now that he's, met Kate and, their stories are going to kind of join from there, I know that we're going to see a lot more of him, but I just thought that was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. I think that you're right. I think that in that first episode, it's really kind of a vehicle for Kate Bishop. That's kind of what we get out of it, and it is interesting. I mean, I think that, I was pretty optimistic about this actress that she's playing, with this role and everything and whatnot. I was pretty optimistic with how it was going to play out. And so far, in episode 1 and 2, I'm pretty happy with what we got with Kate Bishop. I mean, it was pretty great. I hate to be, we're not trying to be spoilers here for you, Cam, but we are going to delve into episode 2. Honestly, to tell you the truth, not that much really occurred. I mean, again, as we talked about earlier before the show, Andrew and Renee and I, really in episode 1 and 2, all we really get is like a lot of supposition and like world building kind of, or whatever, or story building kind of, and background and everything and whatnot, by the time we get to like the end of episode 2, we're just kind of starting to get deeper into the story. now. So basically, Renee, you were just asking me in the chat if Kate Bishop is going to be the next Hawkeye.
That's
Yes,
what I'm thinking it might happen, because if they're setting her, like you said, they really set her up as the main character. Uh, if you just look at this first episode, although it's named Hawkeye, so
you're good, Andrew. Yeah, no, I mean she is going to be Hawkeye eventually.
Okay.
Yes, I mean at least in the comic books that's how they did it.
okay.
I don't know, unless, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to stick to what they did in the comic books. So yeah, I would expect her to eventually, adopt the mantle of Hawkeye. But it was really cool seeing her in the Ronin outfit.
Mhm.
I loved the whole Ronin deal with Hawkeye. I really did. Like, I loved him as Ronin. So I really dug her. I love how she just the minute she put the suit on and went ahead and started fighting with the bad guys and everything like that, all of a sudden she became like a target, by like the tracksuit mafia or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and I thought that was really neat how I like that part of the story, the idea that there was kind of like unfinished business almost, kind of like with Ronin, where he made enemies. Hawkeye did as Ronin, and like there's lingering, I guess, issues or whatever, as far as that goes. And that's a big part of the story, I think, is that essentially he's decides to stay in New York because there's people out there that are wearing the Ronin uniform. You know what I mean? Like, and he feels like he's got to step in and kind of clean that up. They don't explain exactly what Hawkeye's doing right now. They don't say whether he's not with Shield anymore, but they don't say whether he, what his whole deal is yet, right now. Like, I'm assuming that they decided to like not prosecute him or anything like that for his crimes as Ronin, or else he'd be on the raft or he'd be in prison. But sticking again with episode 1, did you guys feel like Renee, did you feel like the episode was really long? Did you feel like they crammed a lot into it? Or did you feel like it was a pretty straightforward deal?
No, I don't think they crammed too much into it. I mean, it was fast paced, without a lot of action. Like I said, because it was, even though it was fast paced, it was going from scene to scene, and we found out a lot about her future stepdad or whatever he is, and his involvement with the crime world and the possible murder or probably obvious murder of her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who Armand is to the family. I guess he's a friend of the family or something to Kate Bishop. And then, we're setting up Kate Bishop's mother. Of course, they've got a major star playing that role. So, we can see she's probably going to play some part since she's got a lot of money or something like that, she's probably going to be a financier the way Stark was or something, maybe to a lower level, but I can sort of see her playing that part. So they're setting her up. Yeah, and there's just, like I say, a lot of exposition, and then they bring in the one-eyed dog, and we're all wondering, well, what in the world, what's up with that and all that? Why does he just have one eye and all that type of stuff? So yeah, it's just a lot going on in it, but like you say, not a lot of action, just a few good scenes thrown in there. So I'm hoping that's going to improve as the series
they
progresses.
threw the dog in there just kind of out of
Mhm.
nowhere. It was like, here
Yeah.
he was, like I forget what they call that dog in the comics. I think his name is like Pizza Head or something like that, or Pizza Face. I have no idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Something like
I
that.
can't remember what the dog's name is, but it's like something the pizza dog.
Yes, exactly. So same to you, going to you too, Cam. Did you feel like, I mean, the episode was like 50 minutes long. Did you feel like like Renee said, like it kind of just like flew right by, or did you feel like there was a lot that went on?
Yeah, it did feel like it kind of flew by, there was also a lot going on too. It's kind of interesting to have those two concepts, coincide that much, but they put a lot in there, I think, without cramming in too much information, if that makes any sense. It was more about building the characters and having character moments rather than explaining to us exactly what's going on. Yeah, for example, during the Rogers play, whenever Clint Barton sees, the woman who's playing Natasha Romanoff, and the music kind of drowns out into silence, and he's just kind of like fixated on that. I thought that was a really strong moment. It's whenever that's something I like about the MCU a lot, because it's not afraid to take time to have the characters slow down and kind of let the moment let the moment build, and let the characters be allowed to have feelings and express those feelings in some way. You see a lot, especially in long running franchises, as the franchise grows, and the concepts and ideas continue to grow, a lot of writers kind of fall into the trap of conveying these new ideas through a lot of information, through a lot of exposition, telling us what's going on, telling us how the characters are feeling, telling us how the characters are growing, rather than just having it kind of flow organically. And I think that I think that's something that this show has started off doing fairly well. Did it fly by? Yeah, it kind of did. The episode kind of left me wanting a little bit, but at the same time, that's what the first episode of a show is supposed to do. That's what keeps you coming back and wanting more. So in that sense, I think that I think it succeeded. I'm definitely looking forward to watching episode 2, and I'm actually going to do that as soon as I get off of here. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like you missed that much not seeing it yet. I'll just put that out there to you now. There's nothing really crazy that goes on in episode 2 that would be like spoiler like type material or anything like that. I think, where I think that anything we could say would really impact how your viewing of episode 2, I guess. But going to you, Andrew, just the same kind of deal. If you have anything to add to that, as far as episode 1 goes, the length of it and everything, did you feel like you ran right through it?
It definitely felt like 50 minutes to me, because I was watching it and I was like how long is this episode? And for some reason I was like, did I pay attention, and did the second episode already start? Because it felt kind of long. And I checked and I still have 10 minutes left. I'm like, okay, 5 minutes of that's credits. I'm like, okay, so we're almost done with this. But yeah, it didn't feel really quick. It definitely felt like it's runtime, but I think that's because it felt like a lot happened in that 50 minutes. So that could be why I wasn't bored with it, but I was like, how much am I almost done with? Because I'm always aware, when I'm watching movies. Yesterday I was watching the Resident Evil movie that just came out, and I was like, how much time is left in this movie? And I check, and I'm like, okay, that's the pacing is kind of weird. But back to this right now. Yeah, it feels like 50 minutes, but not in a bad way.
The new Resident Evil movie is what's her name, the main character in that movie? That's the same actress that's always been in those Resident Evil films?
No. It's a complete reboot.
Mia Jovovich. Yeah,
it's not her. It's not her.
She's not in that one.
Yeah,
but
really?
Hailee Steinfeld, though, the girl who plays Kate Bishop, is actually in. I don't know if you guys are keeping up with stuff that's coming out on Netflix, but the show Arcane, that's based on League of Legends and stuff like that. Honestly, one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Completely 10 out of 10. Hailee Steinfeld voices the main character of that show. So it was kind of interesting to put the face to the voice, because I don't think I've seen Hailee Steinfeld in live action in anything else. If I have, I didn't recognize her, but
she's in one of my favorite movies from 2010, True Grit. I don't know if you saw the remake of True Grit.
Oh yeah, True Grit.
She's the little girl in that movie.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So she was already a standout even back then, because if I remember correctly, I think that didn't she get Oscar talk and everything like that and everything just based off that?
She won awards for that role. Yeah, I don't think it was Oscar. I think it was Academy Award stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, so so she already even I had forgotten that, Andrew. Now that I had completely forgotten all about that. That was her that actually.
And I just remember she's also, what's her name? She's Spider-Woman / Gwen Stacy in the Spider-Verse.
That's movie. Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, but to kind of slip into, into episode 2 as well as episode 1, there wasn't that much action. But going right back to you, Andrew, for what there was, for what we did get action wise, excluding the stupid sword fighting and everything with Hawkeye in that one scene or whatever, which is whatever. But as far as like the action that we see with Kate Bishop with, with her hand-to-hand skills and everything like that, since we haven't really seen her shoot the bow and arrow that much, what'd you think of all that? Did you think that she pulled it off?
I like the fencing scene, and I really enjoy that scene actually. I like how when she's like kind of pushing her mom's boyfriend, being like I could tell like you're holding back because like he's really not trying, and then it's only when he's not paying attention to her that he like instinctively tries, and she's kind of like there it is, like you saw that, like he's hiding something. So I like the sword, like the fencing, all that stuff. She's like knowledgeable about. She's like talking about like foils and epées and like. So she knows her stuff, and like you said, like in the credit sequence in the beginning of the first episode, where like it's just like trophies and like it's like showing you through the credit sequence that that's what she's accomplishing and stuff. Like she's like formidable. Like even when she meets like Hawkeye, she's combatively like formidable. She just doesn't have like all the stuff that comes with experience. Like when she meets him, and he's like looking around. She's like, oh, like are you like doing like the situational awareness thing? Like she doesn't know about like stuff outside of combat, and she's trying to like kind of glean that off of Hawkeye. But I do this when I go off on tangents. But back to your point about the sword fighting stuff, I do enjoy that. I believe, and I don't know if we're gonna get to this point yet, but the character of her stepfather in the comics, he is a character called the Swordsman, who is kind of like the mentor for Hawkeye. It looks like they're switching things around with the show, but I remember from reading like some of the Silver Age comics that her stepfather or the boyfriend of her mom is supposed to be the Swordsman character. That's why he has like that goofy mustache and stuff. So, but
yeah. This series, of course, is based off of like the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye or whatever from 2012 to 2014, I believe.
Yeah, that's why it's got the hearing aid.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll ask you, I'll just to switch up the question a little bit, Cam. What did you think of that? What did you think of that opening credits scene? What did you think of that intro that they did for episode 1?
I thought it was interesting. It was a nice way to convey. It was a creative way to show not only a passage of time, but also to show context behind the characters. There were some pretty interesting shots in there. I liked showing the two of them, Kate Bishop and her mother, sitting at like a dinner table, and then it kind of fades into Kate Bishop and her mother sitting at the same dinner table, but Kate Bishop is grown up, but her mother hasn't changed at all. The only person that changes is Kate Bishop. I thought that was kind of interesting. I feel like that might be kind of foreshadowy in some way, but maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But it was an interesting sequence. I like whenever a show can convey something through an opening credit sequence, instead of just having it just be an opening credit sequence, because you see that a lot in a lot of shows, like especially anime. It's just there to look pretty and be snazzy, but this one actually conveyed some type of message with it.
Well, I feel like Marvel Studios has done a really good job with these like intro title scenes and stuff like that with all these series. But Renee, what did you think of the action and whatnot and everything in episode 1 and 2? Obviously, mostly with Kate Bishop. Did you feel like she sold it?
It didn't really. It wasn't really a lot of extended violence where there were some gymnastics and whatnot in there, and that's what you expect. But like I said, it wasn't really extended. I mean, it wasn't anything where she's like a slam dunk kill, or not necessarily put quotes around kill, but you know what I'm talking about. It kind of was abrupt. Some of it was even funny, where the guys were lobbing the Molotov cocktails in the department, and he's throwing them back. That's more Keystone Cop type comedy. Got a feeling these guys are gonna. I don't know if they're gonna be the bad guys, or if they're gonna be the bad guys who kind of have to help Hawkeye out somewhere down the line. I kind of got feeling that's gonna play into it. So I'm seeing them as the comedy relief coming in. Yeah, but like I say, I think we all got teased with that long extended chase scene in the big trailer that we saw, and I'm staring at a poster of Bullet with Steve McQueen in it, and and that's one of the things I love in types of movies, just really good action, street level, not green screened. It's actually they're actually running up and down streets and doing this stuff. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. So maybe they're like you say, as Cam said, they're just holding back a little bit right now. Why give it all away right now? So I'm gonna put it.
Well,
I'm gonna say I'm satisfied with the action at this point. Then.
Well, let me ask you, Cam. Since we're just working with episode 1 with you, basically, since you haven't seen episode 2 yet, if you had to contrast kind of like the Loki series versus this series, what do you think is really what do you feel like stood out to you that was really different?
Well, Loki was definitely setting up a more cerebral story. It wasn't action centric. There was action in it, but it was more about it was more about the adventure of it all. It was more about the discovery. Whereas Hawkeye, I feel like, is more about not necessarily just so much about the action, but more of passing the mantle of the action on to somebody else. If that makes any sense. Something I did notice about the action in episode 1, you have the fight scene in that basement winery. The editing I thought was really awkward. It was kind of hard to tell what was going on in that fight scene, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was just like the downgrade in visual quality that comes with streaming. Unfortunately, that's kind of inevitable, but I don't know. I'm really hoping that they improve the editing of the action moving forward, because I don't know. I don't know if if it was just hard to work with the stunt double or the environment that they had going on there, but the choppy editing and the quick cuts, it was very jarring. It was kind of hard to tell what was going on. But then you take that and you put it against a show like Loki. I thought the action of that show was incredibly well filmed. Tom Hiddleston was great. You could see that he was doing a lot of his own stunts, whereas Hailee Steinfeld, we don't quite get that yet. I mean, for all we know, it could have been a stunt double the entire time inside that suit, which I gotta say, I thought it was hilarious that the suit just did not fit her. You could tell that it was like wearing the biggest pair of cargo shorts that you could find. It just kind of hung off of her. I thought that was hilarious.
Kind of like Big Helmet in Spaceballs.
Yeah, kind of like that. I hadn't thought of that, to be honest with you, but now that I am, I can't not picture that. I feel like the hood is just like the hood on her is like a quilt.
Well, what did you think, Renee? If you had contrasting this show and Loki, like kind of what would the differences be for you?
Yeah, I think Cam nailed it. I think Loki's what Loki has going for it was it's got a lot of world building to do to it, and that can be fun in itself if it's done right. Because you're seeing all these fantastic. Oh my gosh, we find out that all of a sudden the Infinity Stones are just powerless where he's at. I mean, it's just dead, and so he and all of his realization of what he's having to go through. Whereas Hawkeye, we don't know what's going through Hawkeye's head. I mean, at this point, he's obviously retired. I guess he's trying to spend time with his family after the whole Avengers deal up through Thanos and the snap and the snapback and all that and whatever. And he's just wanting to just spend time with his family. And then, boom, here comes this. What he's seeing right now is an inconvenience. He's going to take care of the next week, and so I guess that's where we're going with it. So yeah, like you say, the world building is a lot less for Hawkeye than for Loki. Where if you want to contrast where the action was really started, I mean, Falcon and Winter Soldier, you just opened with a long extended action sequence that was just really, that was just, you know, a peach to get you into that series. Whereas this series, and of course, Wanda's there again, you've got world building going on. So I think that's just where Hawkeye's going to kind of drop down, because you don't have the opening action that much, and you don't have the world building either. It's pretty mundane world building as far as these characters go.
Well, Andrew, coming off of What If, was it nice to just have like a live action show again? Like, did you appreciate that? Did you like the fact that it was just an Earth based kind of show?
I did. After like everything when they, because I remember at the start of the year, we had like the entire schedule of like everything Marvel related for the entire year, and it was supposed to be like something every single week. And then about like around June or July, there was like that, like we're gonna alter the release schedule for the movies, and then like kind of pushed everything back. And so then I was like, okay, well after Loki, like what is there left? And like going to What If, I forget sometimes if What If is even like canon in a way or non-canon or whatever the deal is with that show. But coming back to like, I remember when you told me over the weekend, you're like, oh yeah, like we're gonna watch Hawkeye on Wednesday. I'm like, oh, like I snuck up on me real quick. I forgot Hawkeye was coming out. Like not that it was coming out, but it was coming out so soon. I thought it was December for some reason. And so like as I was watching it this morning, I was like, oh, it's like Jeremy Renner. It's like, oh, all right, like we're back to like actual like Avengers like characters from the actual movies. Like, okay, like yeah, it felt like okay, this like the where Loki kind of left off with like all the stuff going on with the multiverse stuff, and then us coming back to here. It was like it's nice to have something that's not like a apocalyptic Omega level event to just kind of be like a small like focused story on this character and I guess his protege in a way, and just something that's a little more like Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like I like the small kind of like not apocalyptic events. I like the small focus stuff. So watching it this morning and like with the whole Christmas vibes and everything, I'll be home in time for Christmas and like I love this. So yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Andrew. I think that you know that the MCU does the big, you know, world-ending stuff very well. I mean, obviously they do, but I'm always a sucker for a really good and grounded story, and I think that's why the MCU films like, you know, The Winter Soldier and Civil War and, you know, things like that work so well, because it focuses not on huge apocalyptic, you know, earth-shattering events. It focuses more on the drama. It focuses more on what the characters are going through. And I think I might have said at the last episode of this that I was on, but The Winter Soldier has been my favorite MCU film since I started getting into the MCU. And the characters and the drama, that's what really grips me. You know, huge big action set pieces, you know, they're exciting to see. Obviously, you know, it's a lot of fun. You know, there's some great spectacle, you know, a lot of green screen, unfortunately, but it's a lot of fun to watch. But whenever you dial it back and you focus on, you know, how those big action set pieces affect, you know, the mentality, the emotion of the characters, I think that's where the real gripping, you know, meat of these films is.
That's why Civil War is my favorite movie. Of those, Civil War is my absolute favorite for that. For all the reasons Cam said, just Civil War and then Winter Soldier right behind that. So,
well, don't forget, Cam, with Winter Soldier, that there is green screen in that, but the Russo brothers made an effort to make sure that a lot of the action scenes and whatnot in that film were actually done with stunt doubles in real life. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That was something that they were really looking to do.
Yeah, I think that all the best MCU movies have come from the Russos. You know, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. And while the Russos didn't direct Falcon and Winter Soldier, the influence is there. You know, that they brought in a lot of like the musical cues, a lot of the filming and editing styles from those movies they brought into that too. And they really work to really bring the most out of each character, because you can have something happen to a character, something super emotional, and you can have a shot kind of lingering on their face from it. But it's not just about lingering on their face. There has to be a lot of context established. There has to be good ambiance to kind of convey the feeling, because obviously an actor can only do so much. It falls on the director to say, okay, what can I do to elevate this scene? And some MCU films really hit that, and some of them don't. But I know, well, in my opinion, I know that the Russos do it the best in the MCU, and they have done it the best in the MCU. And I really hope that they come back to direct at least one more movie.
Well, we were actually talking about this the other day, how cool it would be if the Russo brothers decided to come in and do Captain America 4. I think it would be great to see the Russo brothers do a Captain America film with Sam Wilson.
Absolutely.
I just think it would be really interesting to see what they would end up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh
no, go ahead, Renee.
No, I was just saying I agree. Yeah, because I think, like I said before, I think the action is what keeps me going the most for all this. I mean, the characters certainly, but I really like how they do their action, and I guess as pointing out, it's coming mostly from the Russo brothers, versus some of the other movies that we've seen, and the other like versus, like the DC and the X-Men versus. Even with that, I haven't seen as well as the Russo brothers have done.
Sure. And I think that basically in episode 2, at the end of it, we do get to see Echo, the new character Echo. She pops up at the end of episode 2 as like the leader of like the
tracksuit
gang or whatever, the tracksuit gang. So I just wanted to ask. I know you didn't see you don't really see anything but just her face, and like what she kind of looks like. We don't, other than that, we don't really see anything. But just based off of like what we saw, the little bit we did see of her in episode 2, and what we've heard about her. I just wanted to ask, if anybody has anything to offer as far as like their expectations with that character, what would it be? And I'll start with you, Andrew.
I have no idea who Echo is. So I remember the announcement a while back that she was getting her own show. But like when I saw at the end, when they had that reveal, I'm like, I don't know who this is. So I was lost. I was like, I'm guessing she's just the leader of this group. And I just figured we'll find out next episode. So I don't have any more to add other than that.
Got you. Renee, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, other than her connection to Kingpin, I mean, that's, I was expecting that because that's been the rumor that he would come back. So, I've got my eyeballs looking for Vincent. But yeah, she kind of like abruptly just appears. And I'm I can't remember if even the Daredevil TV show, if Kingpin mentions her.
No.
Maybe no. So I'm wondering why that is, and how is she his real daughter or an adopted daughter of some kind? Which that seems to be common, a common motif in the series. But anyway, I'm looking forward to see what they do with it. And I believe she is a deaf actress.
Yes.
In real life, yeah.
Yes. Cam, this is what you missed basically when we were waiting for you to come on.
I have made many mistakes, but I accept the debt I'm paying because of them. Prison has changed me.
What is it you're saying?
I want to make a deal.
Can I tell you a secret? I'm working with an Avenger. We're saving the holidays.
Can I speak to your manager?
Didn't realize you were supposed to bring guns.
We're out of regular arrows.
Oh my god, trick arrows?
Definitely not this one.
You don't have to say definitely like that.
Holy! There are arrows more dangerous than that one?
Yeah, I'd have to say that, Renee, I probably would have to agree with you that I think that, like, the Echo character is probably going to end up becoming an ally to Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, I think, by the time the series is over. But don't forget that we're supposed to also get Yelena Belova in this series as well at some point. She's supposed to pop up. You know, they announced that several months back or whatever, that from the Black Widow film, that she's going to be in the series. So, Cam, what do you have any thoughts on Echo, the character Echo and whatnot, and, like, you know, that we saw there in that trailer briefly? And what are your thoughts on the fact that they're going to be rolling Kingpin into the show?
Well, I don't know enough about Echo to be able to make a call one way or another as far as expectations go. But if there is something that the MCU has gotten better at over time, it's creating unique villains. And I think that even if I don't know very much about her character going into it, I'm still excited to see where the character goes, because you know, but between characters like, you know, Thanos, the Winter Soldier, Zemo, I mean, even Surtur in Thor Ragnarok, I thought was great. I have high hopes. I really do. And as far as Kingpin goes, I love the Daredevil TV show. I think it's a really, really great show. And I honestly didn't know that they were bringing in the Kingpin until you showed me this just now. So thanks for that. Now I have something else to look forward to.
There is a caveat there. There's a caveat there, Jeff. I don't think I think that's a fan trailer again.
No.
I think
you think
look,
is it?
Yeah, because look, you went to that's the Screen Culture one link, right? That you have.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the description for it, and it says trailer concept, and then further in the description it says the inspiration behind this video. And then yeah, because I'm looking at the comments, and like one of them was like, "Oh, this is a fan." I was like, "Yeah, right." Because like when the Kingpin is talking, he's not. The background doesn't match the room that he's in with where the other press. Yeah, I don't. I'm like, is that? Like,
so that's not a.
So.
Maybe you're right. I guess that's not an official Marvel Studios trailer.
Right.
Yeah, you got to watch out for those concept trailers.
Yeah.
They get you.
Well, you know what? I was rushing to grab that, so like that's kind of where I was at with that. I was trying to really quick grab it right before we started the show. So, hey, you know what? If Kingpin all of a sudden doesn't show up in episode 3, I apologize.
Oh no.
That's the second time it's happened.
Hey, you know what, Andrew? That's why we like to have you on here, brother. It's good. It's good to have somebody to be a fact checker on the show and whatnot. When you never know what's going to happen with me with these trailers. So
fake news.
But I'm just gonna, Cam. I know you didn't see episode 2, so I don't expect you to be able to answer on this one. But starting with you, Renee, if you had to give like a 1 through 10 ranking or rating or whatever for episode 1 and 2, what would you come up with? Do you think, if you had to just kind of like guesstimate, like what would you put out there if you were going to rate those episodes?
I would give number 1, first episode, a 7.5, based on the Internet Movie Database stars. I would say a 7.5, and then episode 2 a 7.
Okay, that's fair. Cam, what do you think about episode 1?
I'd say I give it roughly a 7 as well. It was gripping where it needed to be. The sloppily edited action really kind of drug it down for me. But I'm sure moving forward, it's not going to be a huge deal. It'll probably improve. But yeah, I'd say I give it about a 7.
Okay, Andrew.
Well, just thinking about, like, I don't want to just copy what you're saying, but like a 7 sounds about right because there's nothing that's like amazing or outstanding about it, but there's nothing that I really can complain about. Like, it's not bad in any way. I can't, like, I'm trying to think of like what was something that I had a problem with. I can't think of anything I had a problem with. I mean, building off of what Cam said about the action, like, other than the stuff she did with the bottle, where she's kind of just like bonking all of them with the bottle and like using the angles and stuff with the bottles, like, other than that, like, yeah, I can see where like the quick cuts and it's kind of like what's going on, and like we constantly see like action through the shelves with the bottles and stuff. So you kind of like we're, it's one of those things where when you're watching a movie or watch a show, and like if you ever try to like consciously be aware of the space that they're in and saying like which way are they facing now, like where the character's facing. And other than like the bottle bonking stuff, it was kind of like a little muddled. A 7 feels about right. I have no major complaints. It was just okay. It was just okay.
And what about episode 2? Could you give us a rating for that one? I mean, did you feel like episode 2 was kind of like a step back from episode 1?
Yeah, I think I had more fun with episode 1 just because like we had like the whole establishing stuff of who the characters were. But yeah, second one, not nearly as enjoyable. Honestly, even though I saw both episodes today, I clearly remember episode 1 much more, left a bigger impression. And then episode 2, I'm like kind of like, did that happen or did that happen in episode 1? And like, so I'm kind of like a little muddled there. Although I did enjoy some of like the character like moments, like with the fencing and everything. That was enjoyable. But yeah, I think episode 1 is a stronger premiere than the second episode was. So
yeah, I think if I had to come up with ratings, I probably would say that I'm probably in the same ballpark area that you guys already were, which is I probably would say episode 1 I'd do like a 7.5 or an 8 maybe, and then episode 2 I probably would say more like a 6.5. You know, or you know, maybe a 7, but like more like a 6.5 or a 6 maybe. Just because there was a little bit of a drop off for me, I felt like. But basically, oh, we lost Cam. So basically, I mean, that's pretty much all I really had for this, guys. For you know, as far as episode 1 and episode 2 went, I really didn't feel like there was that much to really talk about. Hey, Cam.
Wait. Sorry about that. My browser crashed for some reason.
I just remembered a huge part. Was episode 2 the one with the LARPing scene, or was that episode 1?
Yeah. No, 2.
That was so out of place, but I equally loved it and equally hated it at the same time. So Cam, when you get there, well, you'll see when you get there. But there's like this really like awkward kind of moment for Hawkeye, where with the LARPing scene where he has to get something back, right? We're just gonna say that he has to get something back, and he has to compete in a LARPing event to get it back. It's just so like it's like that Marvel kind of self-awareness where it's hilarious, but at the same time, it's also kind of like it takes itself too seriously with the slow-mo shots where he's just like with this fake wooden sword, like just beating up all these LARPers. And it's just like it reminded me. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie. What was that movie with Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott, where they had to take care of like younger kids? It's like some kind of anyways. Do you remember what you're talking about, Jeff? I think it's like role models or something.
Or something like that.
No, it's not role models, I think. But it's kind of like that. If you ever seen that movie where it's just like they introduce LARPing as a thing and it's just used to like hilarious and equally bad effects. So yeah. Episode 1 is stronger. Now I know for sure. Yeah, episode 1 is a stronger episode.
Well, basically, that was pretty much all I really had to work with as far as this review went, guys. So, I mean, we're going to actually try to clock in for under an hour on this one. I want to, again, just go ahead and plug Geek News Now Network. Cam is here from Geek News Now. Andrew's here from Geek News Now. And thanks for being on here, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it was good to see you.
Thanks.
And Renee, coming from Podcast of Champions, sakar.freeforums.net. We appreciate you coming on again.
Thank you.
And for Cybernetic Shark and myself, Jeff, here at the MCU's Bleeding Edge, and for everybody at GNN, we just want to say goodnight, and we'll see you next time.